Hi there, I'm Chuck, and this is a special edition of Toilet Talks. This one's going to be a little bit longer. It's probably not going to fit in a short, well, this introduction might. We'll see how I do this. I usually don't edit these. This one's going to require some editing, no doubt. So full transparency, I'm probably going to, stumble over some words and have to edit some things out or something like that. And the content of this is going to be much longer than my normal talks. So that means I might have to move off the John because I don't want to get like butt sores and all that, and, we got to take care of business too. So at any rate, here's the deal. So I saw a post from someone else the other day that was pretty interesting. This guy went into ChatGPT and entered some prompts. First, set ChatGPT up and said, I want you to go read the entire document of Project 2025 and come back and tell me when you've read it, digested it, and you're ready for questions. And so ChatGPT comes back and says, I'm ready. And then he commenced to asking some questions. So I found that very interesting. And I'm not a big ChatGPT user. I do use it, but I don't use it that often. Quite honestly, even though I'm not a big fan, of Elon Musk, I tend to use Grok more often than any other AI that's out there. I just find that Grok tends to be pretty blatantly honest, even critical of Elon Musk himself and Tesla, the company, and stuff when it is just being honest. And I find that the quality of the experience, the AI experience, prompts and stuff, for my experience, just tends to be a little better with Grok3. So I generally tend to go to Grok3 first. Like I say, I use ChatGPT. I use about 6 different AIs at any given time, but Grok seems to be the one that I tend to lean on the most. So when this guy, and I'll have to go back and look, actually, the name of the channel, if you want to go check it out, and I invite you to do so. It is a really interesting channel, and the guy publishes good videos, and the name of the channel is I Ask AI. That's I space ASK space AI. I Ask AI. And then the prompts that he does are really interesting. The responses are interesting. Highly recommend you going out and checking the guy's channel. I have nothing to do with him. I just find his channel interesting, so I thought I'd share it. But that being said, I thought I would do my own experiment with Grok3 and basically enter the same prompts that I Ask AI did with ChatGPT to Grok so that I could compare the differences and the similarities between the two AIs. Way more similarities than there were differences altogether. So I did 2 experiments. One, I basically took all the prompts pretty much word for word that the guy who runs I Ask AI put into ChatGPT around Project 2025. I did, like I say, pretty much verbatim the same prompts to Grok3 to see what it had to say about it. Very interesting results. And I'm going to put that as a PDF in the attachments to this video, so you can go look at the conversation. And I'm just going to kind of set that up here and give you some ideas of some of the prompts and some of the responses that I got. The I Ask AI video, he goes through all of that. I mean, it's an incredibly long video, and I tend to watch everything at 2 times or 1.7 times, 1.75 times speed. And it still was like a 30-minute, it was an endeavor, but very, very interesting. I wanted to avoid that. So I'll just put the PDF, which is the script of my prompts and Grok's responses, in the attachments down below to this video when I publish it. The second experiment I did was around, and this was purely on my own, with Grok3, and it was around HR1, the so-called big beautiful bill, which, if you've been paying any attention at all, is a big abysmal piece of crap that is going to screw most citizens of the U.S. while enriching the people who are already incredibly rich and don't really need any more money. So at any rate, that's kind of my setup. I got 2 experiments. I may make this into 2 videos to make it a little bit more granular, a little simpler, but maybe not. Either way, I will post the scripts as a PDF in the video comments, or sorry, the attachments from the video for this, and you can take a look at it yourself. But I just kind of wanted to set it up and just give you an idea of where this is coming from. So I got my iPad in my lap here, so if I'm looking away or you see a bunch of reflection in my reading glasses, which I need to see, you'll know what's happening there. Again, I like being fully transparent. So at any rate, I'm grumpy because you're dopey, Donald Trump and Elon Musk, both of them. This is the day that I'm recording this is the first day of the marital spat between the 2 narcissists, Elon Musk and Donald Trump. And it did not take long at all to escalate. I think we all saw it coming. We all knew that this day was going to arrive. We just didn't know how long it would take. And my personal view on Trump, I'm not judging you on your view or whatever with this video, but just again in transparency, my personal view on Donald Trump is historically, going back as far as I can remember the man being in media, which was in 80s, he is consistent in one thing. He betrays everyone with whom he does business, including family. Eventually, his transactional nature of relationships, he runs out of usefulness for the other person, and then he turns on them and betrays the crap out of them. So this is no different. We knew it was coming. It's just this one's going to be a much bigger fight and a whole lot more media around it because of who's in it and the recent history in the past 3 or 4 months with the whole Doge and all that crap that's going on. But I digress. So the name of the document is I Asked Grok About Trump and His Implementation of Project 2025. And if you don't think that Donald Trump is implementing, if you think Trump is not implementing Project 2025, there's only one explanation for that. Maybe 2. 1, you're in complete denial, or 2, you have not read Project 2025. All you have to do is go read it. You don't even have to read the whole thing. It's enormous. It's like 1,000 pages. But it is being implemented pretty much paragraph by paragraph, step by step, word for word. It is being implemented as is stated in the document. I have family who are MAGA, and when I brought up Project 2025 to them, my jaw almost dropped. Well, actually, it did drop. They said, Project 2025 doesn't exist. I'm like, oh my fucking gosh, are you kidding me? I never sent them the document because there's no fighting with, there's no debating with MAGA. You're never going to convince them. The only way they're ever going to come around is by what's happening right now, and that is they are beginning to get screwed themselves by the Trumpster fire. And when it affects them directly, then all of a sudden they start to wake up. And it depends on how badly they get screwed as to whether or not they really do turn on Trump or not. But eventually it's all going to blow up because, as I said, Trump betrays everyone. That's just his nature. So, again, I digress. Sorry for I'm stream of consciousness here. Like I said, I may edit this. I may not. You may have to tolerate me here in this beginning part. So, the setup. I told Grok, gather all the information about Project 2025 and how it connects to Trump's policies, but only during his second term starting January 20th, 2025. So basically, I want you to go through everything Project 2025, be fully aware of what's written in the document, and then I'll start asking my questions. Don't write anything yet. Just say, I'm ready when you are. And then it replied, I'm ready. And again, transparency, that is almost verbatim from what the guy over at I Ask AI prompted ChatGPT. In this particular case, not the HR1. The HR1 was all me. But in this Project 2025 experiment, I pretty much took all of the prompts that I Ask AI did. So that's all but verbatim of that. So Grok came back and said, I'm ready. And I set the conversation up. I don't want any fluff or anything like that. And again, this is all but verbatim to what I Ask AI said as well to ChatGPT. So the first question is, be clear, straightforward, call a spade, no sugarcoating, no fluff, no links, no headlines, and no left or right leaning takes. Right down the middle, only truth, only facts. Just give your own opinion on anything I ask. So here's the first question. What parts of Project 2025 has Trump already put into action? No, and in parentheses, no headlines, just give me your full answer with your own thoughts in detail, and make sure to highlight exactly which parts of Project 2025 connect to each of his actions. Grok's answer was lengthy, and I'm not going to go into all of the answer. You can look at it in the PDF. What I am going to do is scroll down here to the very last paragraph from Grok3. This is the most current Grok. And Grok concludes that particular response to my prompt with, my overall take, Trump's early actions show he's implementing significant chunks of Project 2025 despite his campaign denials. The overlap is undeniable. DEI bans, Schedule F, immigration crackdowns, education reform, environmental deregulation, and security clearance revocations all tie directly to the document's proposals. He's moving fast, using executive power to bypass Congress directly to the document's proposals. I'm sorry. I misread that. I will go back. He's moving fast, using executive power to bypass Congress, which aligns with Project 2025's strategy to maximize presidential authority. This is me inserting this, basically to become an authoritarian or a dictator. So back to Grok's answer. However, some actions, open paren, like Doge, close paren, go beyond the document, suggesting Trump's blending its ideas with his own impulses. And that's exactly how Trump operates, is seat of the pants impulses. And you can be a Trump fan and still admit that, because it's undeniable. All right, so the last part of Grok's response here is, the risk is overreach. Legal challenges and public pushback could stall these moves, especially on divisive issues like immigration and education. But for now, Project 2025's influence is clear, shaping a second term that's aggressive, conservative, and focused on dismantling progressive policies. He's not representing us as citizens, regardless of which side of the fence you're on, Republican, Democrat, somewhere in the middle. He's not representing the people that elected him. He's representing his own agenda, period, by dismantling progressive policies. In other words, I'm going after the progressives, right? So follow-up question number one, and again, I'm not going to get into all the detail here. I just want to kind of set this up and give you an idea of what to expect so that you can be a little bit, maybe pique your interest, to be a little bit educated of what my experiment entails. Because this particular document is 37 pages long. So Grok goes into a great amount of detail in its answers. So follow-up question number one. What parts of Project 2025 is Trump most likely to implement next? Make a clear prediction of what we should expect if he keeps following the project, and in parens, use the same structure. Again, pretty much verbatim from I Ask AI, because I wanted to do kind of a tit-for-tat comparison, right? So let me scroll down here. And again, I'm not going to read you all of the stuff because it's like a really long answer. I'll hit the highlights for you. So based on Trump's actions in his second term starting January 2025, and the content of Project 2025's 900-page policy blueprint, I'll predict the parts of the document he's most likely to implement next, assuming he continues aligning with its goals. So Project 2025, crafted by the Heritage Foundation, pushes for a conservative overhaul of the federal government, emphasizing executive power, deregulation, and traditionalist policies. blah, blah, blah. So Department of Education elimination or downsizing. And then my opinion from Grok. I'm not going to read you all the paragraphs that come under that one bullet, the sub-bullets. The last sub-bullet's what I'm going to read you. My opinion. This is from Grok. This move would fulfill Project 2025's vision of reducing federal control and prioritizing conservative education models. It is a politically charged step that will thrill his base, but could spark backlash from teachers' unions and parents who rely on public schools. And we're seeing that right now. The department's outright elimination is a long shot without Congress, but significant cuts are feasible and disruptive. We're seeing exactly that. Grok is spot on with this. And this is what I like about Grok. Like I say, I'm not a big fan of Elon, but it's hard to deny the quality of the products that his company has put out. I personally lease a Tesla. I'd rather not at this point. I got 18 or 16 more months to go in my lease. It is a predatory lease. There is no getting out of it. At the beginning, until Elon embarrassed himself and Tesla's sales plummeted, you could not buy your way out of a lease. You had to stay in the lease. You couldn't transfer it. You couldn't trade the car. You basically were trapped in your lease for the full term. And when their stock price plummeted, all of a sudden I get a letter in the mail. Hey, guess what? You can now buy your Tesla off the lease. You know what? No thanks. I do like the car. The car is, no denying, the car is a decent car. It's not a great car. It's not the best car I've ever owned, but it's a great commuter and it gets the job done. And the technology is pretty decent. I have to say, it's a decent car. I'm not disappointed in my Model 3. But I, unlike my wife and other people, I don't have as hard a time separating the man from the product, right? So I use Grok. I don't use X. I've had an account since Twitter first came out, but I don't really use it ever. But the only reason I sign on to X is so I can access Grok3. All right, so scrolling down. So let me get to my next question here. Just to give you an idea. Let's follow up question number 1. Oh yeah, I was going to read you basically. So Department of Education. The next highlighted bullet in that particular section is expanded immigration restrictions and visa reductions. We know what that's all about. I'm not going to go into detail there, but Grok's opinion is this directly advances Project 2025's hardline immigration stance. It's a crowd pleaser for his supporters, but risks economic fallout, especially in industries reliant on immigrant labor, tech agriculture. Legal challenges will likely delay or dilute some measures, but Trump's momentum suggests he'll try it anyway. All right, deregulation of federal agencies. And again, we're seeing where that's already begun with the Doge invasion of all these things and mass layoffs and all that good stuff. So it mentions, EPA, FDA, Department of Energy, all that kind of stuff. And then its prediction, by late 2025, Trump will likely issue sweeping executive orders to roll back environmental and health regulations, particularly EPA rules on emissions and FDA drug approval processes. Expect fast-tracked permits for energy and infrastructure projects bypassing environmental reviews. And again, Grok is spot on, might be a little behind the times because we're already seeing this happen. And I did this experiment less than a week ago, actually just a few days ago. Grok's opinion, this is a slam dunk for Project 2025's pro-business agenda. It'll boost industries like oil and construction, but could lead to environmental and safety risks that fuel public outcry. Trump's business-friendly base will love it, but it might alienate moderates worried about long-term consequences, which will come back to haunt those that were fans in the beginning. When you start getting poisoned by your air and your water and everything else, now all of a sudden it wasn't such a great idea, huh? We spent all these decades trying to make sure that we as a country were doing our best to lead the rest of the world in environmental causes, only to have it all ripped down in 3 months. It's insane. 5 months. All right, so let's see. The purge of disloyal federal employees, blah, blah, blah. My opinion. This is a core Project 2025 strategy to consolidate power, and Trump's early moves suggest he's all in. It could streamline his agenda, but risk creating a government of yes men, undermining competence and institutional stability. Hello, ding, 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 ding. Winner, winner, chicken dinner, Grok. Again, we're seeing exactly that. The optics of mass firings could also look authoritarian. No, the optics, whatever the optics, it is blatantly authoritarian, in my opinion. That's me, that's not Grok. Grok said the optics part. Reform of intelligence and law enforcement agencies, Grok's opinion around that. This aligns perfectly with Project 2025's goal to neutralize perceived liberal bias in law enforcement and intelligence. It's a high-risk move. Weakening these agencies could compromise national security and spark bipartisan pushback, but Trump's personal vendettas make this a priority. And again, you can be a Trump fan, and you still have to admit that the man holds grudges, and he would rather go after a vendetta than make the U.S. better on the world stage. He's a petulant child, in my opinion. That's not Grok, that's me. All right, so overall take. This is all from follow-up question number 1. Grok's overall take. Trump's rapid adoption of Project 2025's early recommendations, DEI ban, Schedule F, immigration crackdown, suggests he'll continue cherry-picking its most executable parts, focusing on areas where the executive power can bypass Congress. The above predictions prioritize policies he can enact quickly through orders or appointments, given his aggressive start. P2025's vision of a lean, and I say P, I'm abbreviating it. Grok, of course, spells it out. But from this point on, I'm going to say P2025 just because efficiency. Something our government knows nothing about. Anyway, P2025's vision of a lean, loyal, conservative government is clearly guiding his moves, but he's blending it with his own flair, e.g. Doge. The biggest risks are legal challenges, public backlash, and overreach that could destabilize governance or alienate moderates. Expect a relentless push for control with education, immigration, and deregulation as the next battlegrounds. If you want me to focus on one of these areas or dig into others, just ask. So I'm going to take a break here for just a minute. I have been saying for literally decades that there is an intentional dumbing down of our society taking place so that our society can be controlled, i.e. North Korea. And this is just evidence that it is truly coming to fruition. And the way we got here, you had to dumb down the society, or at least a portion of the society, to get them on board with MAGA, in my opinion, because those people just pay attention to the lies. They don't pay attention to facts. They don't do their own research. They just take what they hear coming out of Trump's mouth as if it were the gospel, and they accept it as if it were the gospel, and there's no arguing with it from that point on. That drives me nuts. Do your own fucking thinking, people. It's not that hard. You know, information is readily accessible, or at least it used to be. You used to be able to go to congress.gov and get any bill that was on the floor being attempted to even get a vote. But they didn't even put HR 1 out on congress.gov until very recently, even though it's been around for quite a while at this point. Well, you know, we're in the months that HR 1 has been being written. It's 1,000 pages. I mean, come on. So, at any rate, I just wanted to give you a little taste. I'm already at, holy crap, 24 minutes into this video. There is follow-up question number 2, number 3. Well, I'll give you the questions just so you know what's up. So follow-up question number 2 is, what, if anything, is Trump not likely to implement from the project? Be specific about the parts of the Project 2025 document that you think will be left undone or untouched. And it gives its answer. I'm not going to go into that because I'm already a long time into it. But again, just to give you the idea of the prompts that I'm giving it. Question 3, tell me briefly what you think about the U.S. today under Trump. I will give you that answer because it's very interesting. There's a whole bunch of, bullets and stuff, but at the end, I'm going to give you that last paragraph. My opinion, we'd end up with a more authoritarian-leaning conservative U.S. with a streamlined but less accountable government. Already seeing that. The social fabric will be strained with entrenched divisions, driving sporadic unrest. Economically, short-term gains for some sectors would come at the cost of the long-term risks like inflation, environmental damage. Sorry, I skipped the or there. Internationally, the U.S. would be less predictable, potentially losing soft power. We've already done that. We've already lost. We're a joke on the world stage right now. So back to Grok. This path feels unsustainable. Pushback from courts, states, or voters seems inevitable, but without change, it's a polarized top-down America with Trump's stamp. If you want specifics on any aspect, just ask. All right, so my next question I ask is, do you really think a big part of the country wants this? And I found, again, I'm taking these prompts from I Ask AI, and I found that one. When I saw that prompt, I was like, oh boy, that is a killer prompt. So let's see what Grok had to say. And again, ChatGPT and Grok seem to be very aligned here. So Grok's answer, no, I don't think a big part of the country wants the full scope of Trump's current trajectory or Project 2025's vision. The U.S. is too divided for any single agenda to have a broad support. Trump's base, maybe 30 to 35% of the population, based on his 2024 vote share and polling, backs his aggressive moves like immigration crackdowns, DEI bans, and deregulation. They see it as a corrective to progressive overreach and bureaucratic bloat. But another 40 to 50%, in parens, urban, progressive, and moderate voters, close parens, oppose his policies, especially on social issues like abortion, LGBTQ+ rights, and education. The rest, swing voters and independents, seem split. Often wary of his authoritarian style, but open to economic populism. My take, this is Grok, my take, his actions resonate with a loud minority, but the majority either resists or is apathetic, creating a volatile stalemate. Deep polarization means no one agenda, including his, has true mass appeal. If you want me to dig into specific demographics or regions, let me know. I did not ask that because that was not on the prompt cycle from I Ask AI. And again, I was trying to stay really close to that. At the end, I started asking some of my own questions. But at any rate, follow-up question number 6, and this is kind of where I'm going to start because we're coming up on 30 minutes on this video, and I really am getting butt sore here sitting on the John. Is it even possible to stop Trump? And if so, give me your detailed plan to stop Trump's agenda. No fluff, no headlines. Grok's answer. This is kind of scary. Stopping Trump's agenda, particularly his alignment with P2025's goals, is possible but challenging due to his executive authority. Republican congressional support and loyal base. That's an interest. Let me reread that sentence because I might have screwed it up. Stopping Trump's agenda, particularly his alignment with P2025's goals, is possible but challenging due to his executive authority, Republican congressional support, and loyal base. Yeah, that makes more sense. I just kind of missed some stuff. All right, so continuing with Grok's answer, his second term as of May 30th, 2025, shows aggressive moves, DEI bans, Schedule F, immigration crackdowns, and deregulation that leverage presidential power to bypass checks. However, legal, political, and societal levers can slow or block his plans. Below, I'll assess the feasibility and outline of a detailed, practical plan to counter his agenda, focusing on specific P2025 policies he's pursuing, e.g. bureaucracy purges, social policy shifts, immigration. My take is grounded in current realities, calling it straight with no sugarcoating. So thank you, Grok. So I'm not going to read you all the bullets. I'm going to get down to my opinion on, I'll read you the top part. Possibilities, legal challenges, courts can block executive orders, which we're seeing happen right now. It humors me, my opinion again, just kind of inserting this. It humors me, all these people, the cronies, who know that they're lying and who know that they're protecting an authoritarian overtake and overreach, who say, well, This is unprecedented, the number of court orders and injunctions against Trump. Why, that's never happened in history before. Well, you know what? No president in history has ever been so fucking lawless and so abrasive against his own constituents as Donald Trump. So, well, yeah, you break the law, you're going to get an injunction. You break the law 100 times, you're going to get 100 injunctions. Duh! It doesn't take a rocket surgeon to figure that out. I mean, come on. Duh. All right. So, legal challenges, congressional resistance, public pressure, bureaucratic resistance. Challenges. Trump's executive power is vast. He can issue orders, appoint loyalists, and control agencies without Congress. His base and GOP loyalty insulate him from political fallout. Courts move slowly, and Supreme Court leans conservative, potentially upholding his actions. Public fatigue and polarization may mute mass resistance. My opinion, Grok's opinion, not mine. Stopping Trump entirely is unlikely without a unified opposition, which we know that's not going to happen. But derailing key parts of his agenda is doable with coordinated legal, political, and grassroots effort. That's us, folks. Grassroots efforts. We got to take action. We got to stop bitching and moaning and whining and actually start taking some action. A lot of people have. It's been a tremendous amount of protests in the streets, right? All right, so back to Grok's answer here. The plan must exploit his vulnerabilities, such as overreach, legal limits, and public perception, while navigating his control over executive mechanisms. And then it goes into a detailed plan to stop Trump's agenda. I'm not going to go into all that detail here just because, again, we're just going on way too long here. But legal challenges to executive orders, congressional pushback and funding control, grassroots mobilization and public pressure, bureaucratic and whistleblower resistance, state-level counteractions, corporate and economic pressure, execution timeline, and it goes from 0 to 3 months, then a 3 to 12 months, and then 12 to 24 months. I will read you the Grok's My Opinion section. This plan is realistic but requires coordination, resources, and stamina. Legal challenges are the strongest weapon. Courts can stop Trump cold if arguments are solid. Grassroots and state efforts are crucial to sustain pressure but face polarization fatigue. Congressional and corporate strategies hinge on exploiting GOP moderates and economic fears, which is tough but doable. The biggest obstacle is Trump's executive power and loyal base, which can steamroll slower opposition. Success depends on speed, unity, and picking battles, e.g. immigration and education, where public support is broad. Total derailment is unlikely, but significant parts of his agenda can be gutted or stalled. If you want to focus on one tactic or specific policy, let me know. These AIs, they like giving you that kind of stuff back. Final question. Question number 7. Tell me honestly, do you believe in your plan, or do you think nobody will actually do anything even if it gets much worse? And again, I take that prompt from Ask AI. I ask AI. The only thing he verbally said in his video that even if it gets much worse, but he didn't actually type that in his prompt, which I noticed. I typed it in my prompt as well. Grok's answer. Honestly, I believe the plan I laid out to counter Trump's agenda is viable. It's grounded in practical tactics like legal challenges, grassroots mobilization, and state-level resistance that have worked against similar policies in the past, e.g. Trump's first-term travel ban, which he just implemented, as we know, 15 or 17, I think it's 15 other countries that are now involved in a travel ban, some of them a full travel ban. Courts, back to Grok. Courts, states, and public pressure can slow or block parts of his P-2025 aligned moves, especially on divisive issues like immigration or DEI bans. The blueprint is realistic, leveraging existing systems and historical precedent. But here's the raw truth. I'm skeptical anyone will execute it with the urgency and coordination needed, even if things get much worse. Polarization has numbed people. Many are apathetic, burned out, or entrenched in their bubbles. Boy, is that the truth. Progressives and moderates often fracture over strategy while Trump's base stays fiercely unified. That's true too. Legal challenges require founding and organization, but groups, oh, I also lost my place. Let me get that. Legal challenges require funding and organization, but groups like the ACLU are already stretched. States like California will fight, but red states won't, limiting impact. Grassroots movements need sustained energy, which fizzles out without clear wins. Look how Occupy Wall Street or 2020 protests faded. Congress is gridlocked and corporate pressure is a long shot unless profits tank visibly. So anybody who supported Project 2025, and you can find this information, it is easily accessed on the internet. Just do a search, which companies supported Project 2025, boycott them. We don't shop at Target anymore. I don't go to Wendy's. I don't go to McDonald's because these companies supported Project 2025. Some of them by tens, if not hundreds of millions of dollars. And yeah, no, I'm not supporting that. I'm not going to support that company anymore, even if I like their product. I'm just not doing it. Money talks, bullshit walks, as the old saying goes. All right, back to Grok. If it gets worse, say mass deportations escalate or federal purges cripple agencies, that's happening already. Fear might spark action, but it'll likely be reactive and scattered. Most people, even those opposed, will grumble but adapt rather than organize. History shows resistance often lags until crisis hit, i.e. Watergate. My take, the plan could work, but human inertia and division make me doubt a unified push unless a catastrophic overreach forces it. People might step up, but I wouldn't bet on it without a bigger spark. Want me to tweak the plan or focus on what could ignite action? And that's the end of that particular section. I did a follow-up conversation, and this is where I start to kind of diverge a little bit from I Ask AI stuff, where I ask it to break down everything Trump did in his first 100 days and give me your own take along the way, which was I think I Ask AI may have done that in a separate video. It may have been the same. I don't know. But I asked that. And again, we're going really long here. It's going to take forever for this video to sync with my cloud and eventually get uploaded to YouTube. Holy crap. So follow-up question number one, I asked that. My follow-up question is, I want you to track how many times and exactly how Trump has violated the law since he returned to office in January 2025. First, take the number of times Trump has broken the law, then list each occurrence. And Grok came back with a number of 12 times that Trump has violated the law. Blatantly, openly, undisputably violated the law. And then it lists list of occurrences: birthright citizenship executive order, freezing federal funding, firing 18 inspectors general, firing DOJ prosecutors, Schedule F implementation, deferred resignation offer to federal employees. That's a congressional process. The president really doesn't have the authority to do that. It's just Congress isn't holding him accountable for that. Doge data access. Boy, is this a big one. This one's the one that really scares me the most. Doge came in, collected all of our personal information, put it on one source. Now, what the hell are they going to do with it? It makes me wonder if we shouldn't go back to landlines or burner phones, right, and just completely disconnect, because this is bullshit, man. They know way too much about all of us now. They've collected all that information across all these departments and put it on one server. And now it's outside the government because Elon took it with him. WTF, man. All right, so Doge data access. Deportation of Venezuelan migrants. Attacks on academic institutions. Sanctions on law firms. Transgender military ban. Gender-affirming care restrictions. So those are the 12 places where Trump has broken the law. It doesn't matter if you agree or disagree with what he's attempting to do. It's not the what, it's the how that creates the violation of law. A lot of the things, I'll be honest, a lot of the things that Trump has brought up as campaign platforms, I agree with. I certainly, just like everybody else says, I agree that, we should clean up the waste, fraud, and abuse in the government. Absolutely. I've been saying that for decades. It's the how he's going about it that is triggering and wrong, just flat out wrong. And I vehemently disagree with how this administration is going about approaching some of the campaign platforms that Trump ballyhooed on his campaign trail. I don't disagree with some of the things he says. I just disagree with the process he's using to implement a solution. Some of his solutions I vehemently disagree with. Again, I'm not going to get into my personal opinion around that because it's just long. So I did a follow-up question there. Is it true that Trump has made more money since taking office in his second term than any other U.S. president in history? And this response I found very interesting because other AIs, like in the I Ask AI, ChatGPT came back and said, absolutely, it is undeniable that Trump has made tremendous amounts of money, way more than, and just called out all kinds of blatant corruption, basically. Grok's answer I found really interesting. And I'm only going to give you the first part of it, the first paragraph of his answer. I'm not going into all the detail. The claim that Donald Trump has made more money since taking office in his second term, January 2025, than any other U.S. president in history is widely circulated but requires careful scrutiny. Based on available information up to May 30th, 2025, I'll assess the claim by examining Trump's net worth changes, comparing them to historical presidents, and addressing the sentiment expressed in posts on X. I'll keep it concise, grounded in data, and provide my unfiltered take, avoiding fluff and critically examining the narrative. So, blah, 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 lots of, it's AI, so lots of wordiness. The conclusion, the claim that Trump has made more money since January 2025 than any other U.S. president in history is not supported by evidence. I found that very interesting. It's conflicting with ChatGPT and some of the other AI engines out there. And quite honestly, some of the blatant evidence. So Grok might be missing some evidence like the cryptocurrency stuff and things like that. Or maybe Grok is right here. I don't know. I got to dig a little deeper myself. So I'm not making a judgment here. I'm just telling you what Grok is saying. So continuing with Grok's answer, his net worth has likely decreased by around $1.5 billion from $7 billion to $5.5 due to real estate and Trump Media Group. So TMTG stock losses. So TMTG stocks going down, and some of, Trump's such a great businessman, he's bankrupted everything he's ever fucking done, so his real estate deals are falling apart. So Grok sees that and sees a loss of net worth. So TMTG is decreased by $1.5 billion from 7 to 5.5 due to real estate and TMTG stock losses despite crypto spikes. And we've seen some serious crypto spikes here recently because there's a lot of corruption around that right now. And incidentally, again, me inserting something in the H.R. 1 bill, the Senate has inserted a deal basically saying if a bank goes insolvent, if a bank goes bankrupt, then instead of paying back their depositors first, that they instead allocate monies through cryptocurrency, basically because all these members of Congress are getting involved in this crypto shit. Basically, it says that the bank should address the crypto people first as a priority before their actual customers that have monies deposited in their institution. That is total bullshit. The Senate should be called out and held accountable for that. That is just outright crooked, period. End of story. So back to Grok's answer here. Other presidents, while in his first term, Trump saw $2.4 billion in revenue. No data confirms unprecedented income in 2025. Other presidents, e.g. Clinton and Obama, earned more post-office, and Trump lost wealth during his first term. The X posts exaggerate, likely fueled by crypto hype and ethics concerns over his non-divested businesses. My opinion, not mine, Grok's. Grok's opinion. The claim is a mix of hype and misunderstanding. Trump's wealth fluctuates wildly due to volatile assets like TMTG and crypto. but he's not raking in billions in realized income. The key word there is realized. It's soft income right now, right? Kind of like Elon Musk's wealth. He doesn't really have that much wealth. He's got tons of stock that is worth something. That's paper wealth. That's not money in the bank, technically, right? So Trump's wealth fluctuates wildly due to volatile assets like TMTG and crypto, but he's not raking in billions in realized income. His refusal to divest invites scrutiny, and deals like WLF smell like profiteering, but the data shows losses, not historic gains. Compared to other presidents, his scale of business activity is unmatched, but the most money ever narrative is overblown without proof. He's playing a high-stakes game, and the market's not cooperating. If you want specifics on his assets or comparisons, let me know. I did not ask for specifics, but I just found that pretty interesting that Grok finds that Trump has not made more money than any president in history. Me personally, I would tend to disagree with that based on everything that I'm seeing, but I don't have the evidence to back that up either, so I'm not going to just make that concrete claim. You know, I got to do research first. I'm one of those people that I don't really come out and spout something as truth unless I have evidence to back me up, something that Republicans have zero of in all their claims. It's funny how they sidestep questions about evidence for all the shit that they're claiming is happening, and then when they get called to the carpet about it, then they just Biden bullshit. You're the fucking president now. Biden's gone. Biden's long gone. This is your accountability, Trump. This is on you. You're doing this shit. Stop blaming it on everyone else. But hey, that's Trump's modality, is to point in every other fucking direction except himself. And he's always done that. It's never been his fault. He's never done anything wrong. He's as perfect as God in his mind, and apparently in MAGA's too, because they worship him. Whew. All right. Last thing I'm going to cover here, follow-up question 3, because I have a good number. Like I said, this thing is 37 pages long, and I've already gone way more than I really wanted to go in. But who knows? Like I said, this is probably going to get edited at this point. Follow-up question number 3. Since we're only slightly past 100 days in his 4-year term, what are your predictions about Trump accruing more wealth while in office this term? How do you see that happening? Grok's answer: Trump will accrue more wealth during his second term. Involves analyzing his current financial trends, business ventures, and the unique position he holds as president with active non-divested business interests. Below, I'll provide data-driven assessment of his wealth trajectory, focusing on key areas: Trump Media and Technology Group, real estate, crypto ventures, based on recent financial changes and patterns observed in his first 100 days. I'll outline how he could accrue wealth and the likelihood of each pathway, and my critical take, keeping it concise, grounded, and unfiltered. Concise is, all but impossible for an AI model because they tend to be extraordinarily verbose, even more so than me. And that's saying something. So then it goes into a tremendous amount of detail. And then I ask, isn't some of that illegal? Grok's answer is yes. And I'm not going to go into the detail of that. The simple thing is yes. So on down further, it gives its opinion on some stuff. I put a new question unrelated to the above. This was my prompt. New question, and in parentheses, unrelated to the above. What's your take on the Guthrie, because it's actually pronounced, and I like to be respectful of any culture, Guthrie. So what's your take on the Guthrie jet situation? Would you consider that a bribe or a violation of the emoluments clause? And Grok's answer is basically unequivocally, I'm not going to go into it, yes. And literally Grok says, is it a bribe? A bribe under 18 USC paragraph 201 involves offering something of value to a public official with corrupt intent to influence an official act. For the Guthrie jet to be a bribe, evidence must show Guthrie expected specific policy favors in exchange, and Trump acted with corrupt intent. And then it goes on to basically prove that that is true. And Grok's opinion on that: this looks like a bribe in all but name. Guthrie is not donating a jet out of charity. They want leverage, whether it's arms deals or softer U.S. policy. Trump's business ties and Bondi's involvement make it stink of self-interest. Grok's words, not mine. But providing bribery requires hard evidence, and Trump's team is savvy enough to keep it murky. It's a corrupt setup, even if courts can't nail it. Boom. Thank you, Grok, for being honest. Does it violate the Foreign Emoluments Clause? And then it basically gives a whole bunch of paragraphs and evidence to basically say yes, to make it more concise here. My overall take, this is Grok, my overall take, the Guthrie jet is both a probable emoluments violation and a deal that smells like a bribe, though proving the latter needs more evidence. It's a $400 million quote-unquote gift from a state with clear motives handed to a president with business ties and a history of skirting ethics laws. And of course, this is me chiming back in again. They've been saying it's not a personal gift, it's government to government. That's all bullshit when you actually dig into it and look at the transaction itself. Don't believe what they say. Look at what's written. Go to congress.gov. Go do some real digging, and you'll find that, oh yeah, this is basically a bribe, for lack of a better term. So, final question on this topic. Is there any sign of corruption? Grok's answer, yes. There are clear signs of corruption in Donald Trump's second term, particularly tied to the Guthrie jet situation and his broader financial activities since taking office on January 20, 2025. Corruption in this context refers to the abuse of public office for private gain, including actions that violate laws, ethical norms, and public trust. Below, I'll outline the evidence of corruption specific to the Guthrie jet and violations and provide my unfiltered take, keeping it concise, grounded, and tied to P2025 where relevant. I'm assuming your question builds on the Guthrie jet discussion, so I'll focus there while addressing the broader corruption indicators. Notice I didn't say anything in my prompts about the Guthrie gift of a jet to Donald Trump. Grok just took that and ran with it because it, at the time on May 30th, when this conversation happened, was basically headlines and it was blatantly out there. It was big in the news. And I'm not going to go into all of the things, but I mean, it's like paragraph after paragraph after paragraph. It's pages, literally pages of evidence of corruption. The last thing I'm going to read you here, which is the last thing on page 37 of this document. Whew. Boy, this has been quite the adventure. And I'm even talking fast. So my overall take, the Guthrie jet is a glaring sign of corruption. A $400 million gift from a state with business ties to Trump, destined for his personal library with policy favors like arms deals in play. It's a bribe by any common sense definition and likely violates the Emoluments Clause, though legal loopholes and political cover may shield it. Broader moves, crypto profits from SEC pauses, donations to a Mar-a-Lago, Schedule F purges cement a corrupt pattern, using office for gain in ways no modern president has dared. Project 2025's loyalist framework makes it easier, gutting checks that could stop him. Trump's betting his influence outruns the law, and so far, he's right. It's a corrupt, brazen, and dangerous, eroding trust in governance. If you want a plan to counter this or specifics on any case, let me know. And then a disclaimer, which I will include because Grok did. Disclaimer, Grok is not a lawyer. Please consult one. Don't share any information that can identify you. Well, you can identify me here, but I am just, Grok is saying for me not to share any information that can identify me with Grok. Kind of hard to do when there's an account tied to all these prompts, but there you have it, folks. So I am definitely going to divide this up. So that is just around Project 2025. I also had an extended conversation, and I am not going to go into the detail on that because it's over 100 pages long about H.R. 1, the big, quote unquote, big, beautiful bill. So I had a conversation with Grok around HR1, and it was eye-opening, extraordinarily eye-opening. There's stuff in this bill that is, it's borderline Germany 1933, no kidding. It's insane. Go out, do yourself a favor, protect yourself. Go to congress.gov and look up H.R.1, HR1. That is the official title in congress.gov, in Congress, I guess, itself, for that big, beautiful bill. Go read it, or at least scan it. It starts off kind of, what do I want to say? It starts off with things you expect. But then once you get a certain number of pages into it where they figure they will have exhausted any reader's tolerance to continue on, then they start slipping stuff in there that has no business in any bill whatsoever, and literally usurps, however you say that, Congress's power. It literally has clauses in there to create a dictatorship in the United States of America. It is fucking insane, people. Do yourself a favor, go read HR1, or at least get an AI to help you read it, because it is so enormous. I'll publish a second video and again post that PDF in that video so that you can see it. But this is crazy stuff, folks. I never ever thought that I would live in the United States of America when it came to this. I always thought that I didn't always, but for decades I've thought that our government is intentionally dumbing down our society to take advantage of them and control them. I've thought that forever. But I had no idea that it was going to go so far beyond that precedent into what the Trump administration is doing. So protect yourself. You're going to need it. You're going to need it. We're in just insane times, folks. And now I got to end this thing. I'm butthurt right now, physically. And, I don't want to have you guys here while I'm doing natural things and flushing and stuff like that. That's not couth. But if you're still here, if you're still hanging with me, thanks for watching this extended episode of Toilet Talks. There's going to be another one around HR1. We'll see how that turns out. But again, thanks for hanging with me. Protect yourself. Go educate yourself. Don't listen to me. Never believe what I say. Take what I say as an impetus to go do your own research. Do your own research. Form your own opinions based on your research. Not mine, not what I say, not what anyone else says. Not the headlines, not... Tune in to Forbes Breaking News, which is live. It's like C-SPAN. Tune into C-SPAN or Forbes Breaking News and watch the action happen real time and educate yourself. Get on AI and study, these bills that this administration is attempting to pass. Go do your own research. Dig, dig, dig. You're going to need it. I never thought I'd have to say this, but you're going to need it to protect yourself from our own government. So again, thanks for tuning in for this really long version, hour version of Toilet Talks. I'm going to get done here, and I'll see you next time. Let me know what you think in the comments.